Giles, thanks for bringing the car down.
Oh, pleasure. It's a bit of a rainy day, but this is never very polished anyway.
Yeah, well, it's from, I mean, where my interest in this car really started was just the amount of use that it gets.
It's, you know, this is literally, I know people don't often believe it, but this is my daily driver. So,
is it?
Apart from the salt times,
yeah.
which I don't, I'll commute to work regularly in it. And, but I bought it when I was 20, so it just feels very normal.
So you bought it when you were 20? Gosh, well, I'm not going to ask you to reveal your age, but it means
well,
you've had it for a long time then.
I'm 50 this year.
Okay.
So
you've had it 30 years.
I got my.
So this is a sorry to interject, but this is a real milestone for you because 30 years.
Do you know 30
years? Are you getting any cake out?
Well,
there's got to be a little bit of a celebration.
It does need a bit of love. It's gone through 2 engine rebuilds in that time, a couple of resprays, never a really good respray.
Yeah.
So I think engine build and respray in the next 12 months, it needs it now. But
so what prompted the engine rebuild?
So it's
well, let's get straight into it. We might as well open up the bonnet and have
you want me to open it? Well, you go that side.
Yeah.
So the engine, it's a 2.4T. This, and it's gone on very well. But Nick and I drove across America in it.
Nick's your brother, right?
Nick's my brother. Yep. So we thought, let's go and see some of our retailers around the world. Let's go and sort of go on this amazing adventure. And my dad restored an old E-Type when I was kids, and we put this in the E-Type in a crate. Mm-hmm. We knew we could keep it in a year in America without paying import duties, and we drove across, and it's steadily got a little bit more smoky over the time, and it's just using a bit of oil, so I think it's time for a rebuild.
Okay.
I got it rebuilt probably 15 years ago, and spent quite a lot of money at the time. And then I was driving down the motorway about 6 months after I rebuilt, and the oil, one of the oil pipes burst loose. And I was driving down the motorway, and I just saw flames pouring out.
Jesus. Right, okay.
And stopped on the side of the motorway. Luckily, I had a fire extinguisher, put it out.
Luckily you had a fire extinguisher, Jesus Christ.
Plugged it back in.
Yeah.
It's all a bit sort of burnt and stuff, but plugged the oil thing back in and did it up. This is on the M11.
Right.
Me under the bottom of the M11. Luckily I had some oil, put the oil back in and carried on driving.
You're kidding me.
And the pressure was down like that. So
Jesus Christ.
I did a bit of damage on it, but so I've had some adventures.
It got you home. Okay, we're going to have to go back a little bit. Okay, so when you said you did a tour of America to see your retailers, let's go back to the basics for people who don't know.
Yeah,
so my understanding, you and Nick started a watch company called Bremont, and that was how many years ago now?
So that was just over 20 years ago.
Okay. And I know we're going slightly off topic, but the story is too good not to tell it, not to have an opportunity to, and our audience might not have had a chance to hear the story. Can you just tell us quickly the reason of the name Bremont behind the watches? And I'm sorry to ask you this because I'm sure you've been asked this a million times over, but just in case there's an audience member in our audience that don't know.
Yeah, why? So bit of background. Grew up, my father was this amazing engineer, PhD aeronautical engineer for Cambridge. Had this love for everything. He was an ex-RF pilot, restored old aircraft, vintage aircraft. That was really our gig growing up. And he restored classic sort of clocks and watches. So, amazing guy. He sadly died in a plane crash with my brother, and my brother survived. But we had this passion for watches and clocks. So we went on this sort of tipping point in life after Nick's plane crash, intensive care for many months, came out of it. And we said, look, life's too damn short. Let's go and do something we love doing. I had trained as an engineer at the time. I'd gone and studied that at university.
Talk of a seismic moment, though.
It was
clearly life-changing.
It's totally life-changing. And it was the worst. I was at the airfield at the time. Dad had died. I was told Nick had died, but he managed to survive it. And that's your tipping point in life. And we started this sort of idea of let's go and do something we love. We were running at the time, my father had an aviation business restoring old historical aircraft, Spitfires and stuff. So we were involved with that, but this watch thing kept sort of coming back to us. So went over to Switzerland. It was for about 7 years before we started bringing the watchmaking back to the UK, and that was always the idea.
Because there's a seriously big heritage in watchmaking in the UK.
Well, if you go back 150 years, we're making half the world's watches and clocks. You know, world sets its time by Greenwich Mean Time. Rolex was founded in Clerkenwell, London.
Yeah.
This amazing history, and Nick and I were so aware of this history, but there were no British watch companies at the time, and we didn't want to go and buy an old watch brand. I could have gone and bought Harrison, Mudge, Tompion, one of the great British watchmakers.
Sure, and revive that brand.
And that's what's happened with many of the Swiss watch brands. I think there were something like 700 Swiss watch companies when we started, no British watch company. And our surname's English, so I was never going to get English go on a dial.
Yeah.
And about 3 years into the watchmaking, we had no name on the watches at the time. And we're just focusing on the quality, working on that.
3 years in.
3 years in. Oh, it took us
That's quite a terrifying thought to think you're working at something for that long a period of time without having a brand name quite there yet.
It took us 5 years before we sold our first watch.
Jeez,
and
right,
we
okay.
mortgaged our houses. And this
So you
is
put everything on the line to do it.
everything on the line.
Yeah.
And this is representative because there are so many times I almost had to sell this car.
Jeez.
I mean, that close.
Well, credit to you for keeping, because, you know, a lot of people do. You know, there are times in my life where I've had to sell cars because, you know, the timings aren't right or this, that and the other. So
No, and the temptation.
well done for hanging on to it.
So yeah, we're 3 years in. We hadn't got a brand, and Nick and I were flying in France. We're in an old biplane going through France, and we got stuck in some terrible weather. And this, you know, pea soup, bill ice day. This is days before GPS. Couldn't find the airfield. Anyway, we had to force land in a French farmer's pea field. And if you do that in England or America, you say sorry to the farmer, you take his wife for a fly and all's fine. In France, because it's a non-licensed airfield, they impound you the aircraft. They make you take the wings off, ship it to an airfield. So it's disaster. And this lovely old boy came out and said, look, put your plane in my head, a sort of a shed, a bit like this, where he had old tractors and stuff. Keep it there till the weather's better. And he's this sort of wonderful old man in his late 70s. My dad died when he was 49. And he was restoring these old tractors, loved his motorbikes, loved his carriage clocks. And we thought, if our dad had survived till his 70s, he would have been this old boy.
So this guy was a bit of a doppelganger for your dad.
A bit of a doppelganger.
Interesting.
Anyway, we left, and his name was Antoine Bramont. We thought, Bramont, actually that could work as a name on a watch. Although it doesn't sound very English.
Yeah, but the story behind it is what really matters.
It meant something to us.
Yeah, it's significant.
So we called him up, said, do you mind if, we're going to use the name Bramont, but we thought, but we're not associating this with you in any way, shape or form.
Well, can we get a blessing?
Can we get a blessing? Oh, crazy Englishman. And that's where the name came from.
Brilliant. But it's so nice. It takes, you know, branding is such a delicate thing. And if you can find the brand name that has a certain significance behind it, I think you're winning on all fronts.
It's really hard. You've got to get trademarks and all the rest
all
of it.
the IP and everything else. No, cool. Okay, awesome. Thanks for bringing us up to...
Not at all.
Thanks for telling us the story. So, what's it called? So tell me about the America road trip. So what was point to point? What were the points?
So we did it over a year, but we did it in 2 goes of 2 weeks each. So the first 2 weeks we did from New York all the way down to Charleston.
Nice.
And we did Alabama, Memphis, and then we ended up in Texas. Yeah. Went back home, and then 8-9 months later went back, picked the cars up in Arizona, and then we did Arizona all the way up. So over the 2 trips, we did anything from Yosemite to Death Valley to Joshua Tree.
Jeez.
It was just, America is built for road trips, and everyone gets a road trip. They don't in the UK, not like America, because every kid has got in a car and driven across America. But the scenery is, you're going from Death Valley to Yosemite, so you're going from heat to snow in a day.
Amazing.
And then, so it just is inspirational. And you're doing it in a car. I mean, driving around New York in this is a car that feels like home to me. You know, had it since I was 20. It feels like home, and you're driving through New York. It really plays with your head.
It's surreal,
It's surreal.
But that's amazing, because the thing is a road trip like that across the States is something that all petrol heads want to do.
Yeah.
You know, but we don't do it for one reason or another. So I mean, the things that would stop most of us from doing it is like being able to take the time off.
Yeah.
You know, what's called getting the time off from the family, from the boss back home, and all the rest of it. So how did you overcome those hurdles to be able to be given the green light and say, yeah, get out of here? Well, and both of you at the same time.
Well, hopefully my wife isn't listening to this, because obviously we said, darling, it's all work. We're going to go and see our retailers.
Okay.
We'll do some press, we'll see some bloggers, etc.
Yeah.
But actually, it wasn't. It was just a holiday, really. I mean, it did work for work, but it was, do you know, and actually it was much more fun than I ever thought it would be, because there is so much to see. The people are so friendly. There's a real vibe of cars. You can call up anyone, you know, anyone you see on social media and say, look, I'm coming past. And they're, wow, brilliant, come and see us. So you're seeing some fascinating people.
It can be amazing like that, social media. It has its flaws and big ones, but the way that it can connect people and the way that you can meet other enthusiasts, which you know, would share the passion with you is pretty awesome. That's really cool.
So true. I mean, the only challenge is food in America. You've got to, if you stick to the road, you'll be sort of putting on about 5 stone within 2 weeks. So you have to, you need your food app to find the good places to stop. But.
Interesting. And the thing is also spending that length of time with someone else over, I mean, that's got to be quite a bonding experience. Because, I mean, when are the other opportunities you get to spend those kind of lengths of time with one individual?
Brilliant. And you're sort of, lunch, suppers, and you're getting up really early in the morning because, and obviously, this, absolutely no problem. Nick in his E-Type, God, that was a nightmare. We joke that his E-Type is now made in America because we had to replace so many bits on it. It doesn't do the heat, doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
Where I had my only problem with this, the whole month of travel, I got a stone caught in the brake.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
Brilliant. Because the thing is just going back a step to traveling with someone, and then we'll get back to the interesting stuff. To the car stuff, but what I find often enough is actually a lot of the conversations you have with your missus or the people around you, you know, what's called, it's a lot of it's a lot of just day-to-day chatter. And actually, I find that on a really long road trip, when I'm with my missus, you get the day-to-day chatter for a few hours, and then suddenly that all disappears, and then you've got nothing to talk about. And when you have nothing to talk about, that's when all the real conversations start to really happen.
Yeah.
So did you find that with Nick? I mean, you're traveling over long distances. Did you find that eventually you got to a point where you were talking about stuff that actually you wouldn't have talked to in day-to-day times that you were spending with him?
I think that's, and we didn't, obviously, we were mixing around the cars and we had various people traveling with us. I didn't spend my whole time with Nick, but I think I think that's so true. I think you drift off, and the conversations you may be talking about that town you've gone through, and then someone's searching it up and talking about the history of it.
It's much more present, isn't it?
Much more present, and I think just in your own mind you drift off, and you're not answering emails. No one's calling you because you're in the States. It's just a really good thing to do. And
I'm getting the burning desire now to go on a road trip. Luckily, that's happening relatively soon. But I mean, road tripping is for me, it's the ultimate thing. And I love my photography as well, so being able to do the two together is fantastic.
So visually, your thing. And I think Europe is still, obviously you go through the Alps and the rest of it is amazing. Europe is pretty busy.
Yeah.
Think about America, you'd be on a road.
So big, yeah.
And this going through Death Valley, and you're not seeing anyone else. And every place you stop is like this sort of photographic masterpiece to catch some stuff.
It's the scale of the country that we can't quite comprehend.
No.
I think that we always have this kind of idea that America can be quite shut off from the rest of the world. But when you think that actually what's happening in the next state for them is international news, because that's how big the country actually is. You kind of understand why. I think the scale of it kind of catches us off in Europe. But yeah. Anyway, let's go back to the car. So when you're heading off for a road trip like that, what kind of preparations do you do? What did you do to get yourself ready for a trip like that?
Well,
I mean, car-wise.
Quite a lot car-wise, actually. It did need, I replaced the lead, full-on service, and I live very close to Tut Hills, so they did a full old job on me, which was great. But you know, it didn't have an engine rebuild or anything, so you know there are some concerns. I had a few basic spare parts. I knew if something went, it could be fixed.
So what spare parts did you have with you?
Things like fan belts. I had some spare leads.
Injectors, plugs.
Injectors, plugs, exactly. And different in America, if you're broken down, you can get a part FedEx within a day or two.
Yeah, yeah.
In almost anywhere, so it's not that remote if something does go wrong. And actually, in miles terms, you're not doing that many miles, really. You know, even if let's say you put on 5,000 miles, your car should have no problems doing that. And you're driving every day. The challenge we had was heat, but that was less of an issue for this. It was for the E-Type. And E-Type, we had to do more. We put Evans coolant in so it could take it up. There's one time in Arizona where we switched, the car was getting hot, the E-Type. We switched it off. We went into a covered car park out of the sun. We went to lunch for 2.5 hours, came back, and you just turn the ignition, and it's through the red line of the heat.
Jesus.
You just
From
can't
sitting there.
Just sitting there. You cannot get rid of the heat.
Wow.
And that's a nightmare on a. And that's why E-Types never really had, much success in America, because it just wasn't built. Whereas this is so good. But it was getting hot. I mean, there's not much you can do with that.
Well, that's the thing. As soon as you get into traffic with these cars and hot temperatures, that's when it can get really interesting.
Yeah, you just want a constant flow. But I think that's...
But it's amazing how as soon as you start moving, the temperatures start dropping again.
Yeah, and we found that actually in certain areas, Death Valley, you get up early and you're going when it's cooler, and then you stop off have a long lunch when it's in its peak heat and do it that way. A bit of concern in hotels. I'm going to leave it out. Is it going to get stolen? But you realise no one can drive a manual in America anyway. So and actually, the biggest confusion...
That's hilarious.
You pull up next to a lorry, and
you're on the wrong side of the car.
They're looking right down at you, these big lorry drivers at the traffic lights. And they look at you, and they're not looking at the car or anything. They just can't figure out you're driving on the wrong side of the car. And that's their biggest sort of head brain that they can't sort of quite figure out.
That's hilarious.
But you make so many friends. And we had one time, we were in Graceland, and a part on Nick's car had gone. And we posted out on social saying, we're trying to find this part. I can't remember what it was. It was something brake, a cylinder or something. And this guy said, I've got an E-Type. I'll take it off my E-Type and I'll come and give it to you.
Amazing.
And someone took this part off his E-Type, drove to see us, and gave us the part to let us carry on.
That's mega. That's fantastic. There is an enthusiasm out there.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
And positivity.
So, highly recommended.
Yeah. Awesome. No, it's on my bucket list of things to do, and I will do it one day. I just got to work out on how to get the green light.
We've got a few cars to choose from, haven't you? I mean, it's sort of
No, there are a few to choose from. So let's talk about the car itself. So it's a 240.
Yeah.
And it's what year is it?
So 1973.
It is a 73. Yeah, you've got the black grills.
Yeah.
And the black surrounds on the indicators.
I mean, you were pointing out this bumper. This isn't the original bumper bit. It's the original shape. So apparently, someone told me there was some kind of spec when you could order it up. So this is an S bumper. So
yeah, because the S bumper has got this extra flick here and the gap in the middle there. But it looks good, and aerodynamically it helps a lot as well.
Well, and I was getting a problem with the original metal bumper was just the chips and the rust. It gets through it with fiberglass. It's just for a daily usable car.
Yeah.
The rubber strips, someone had done a job and the rubber strips have been taken off down the side, so I didn't bother putting those back on. It's actually quite a big job to take those strips off. You're welding all the holes.
Yeah.
And actually, taking the metal off here means you're getting less corrosion. I found when I did originally have the metal on, because I've had it for so long,
you get moisture cut.
That's where you're getting your big rust points.
Yeah. Where you get that moisture trap between the two.
Exactly. And the dirt and the salt you can't get out. So,
but it cleans it up actually, not having that chrome strip.
Yeah.
And actually, I think the stripes help to break it apart.
Well, it is. So it's original colour, but as you see, it's slightly patchy all over the place. That's why it needs a respray. I had all the...
So are we signal yellow here?
Yeah, signal yellow.
Signal yellow, yeah. It's a lovely colour. It's got that little bit more orange to it. It's fantastic.
I had to change... Well, I changed these for the road trip.
Okay.
The original are really hard to see on when you're driving the other side of the road.
Yeah, because they would have been round, right?
They would have been round, exactly. I've still got the rounds. But they're just more practical when you're driving on the other side. To see that. This is fully, I think this is the first year, and you'll probably know when it had electric windows and stuff. So, and they all work, and the sunroof. Obviously, it doesn't have air conditioning, because it got a little bit hot at times.
You know what? What's called? I like sunroofs. A lot of Porsche guys, for some reason, the whole thing is about not having a sunroof. You know, because it's getting weight away from the top end of the car and all the rest of it. But quite frankly, I think having a sunroof is fantastic. Being able to have it just brings so much light to the cabin, and it kind of makes things a lot more airy. I think that's fantastic.
I really like it.
Yeah.
It's really worked well for me. You know, I think using it over the years, it's just a really practical car. I think if you're going to use these things, I've never had an A1 paint job done on it. I've gone through a couple of resprays over the time. It now needs, in the next 12 months, it needs a whole respray, which I'll get done.
Does it? Why?
Because all the work was done on the vents that rust down here. So that was done so that they didn't match it correctly. There's tiny bits of rust that it now needs doing. But my concern is doing this stuff too perfectly, and then you don't want to use it. You're
absolutely right. I think the beauty of this car, and what's called one of my initial attractions to it, is the fact that it is clearly a car that gets used, and you don't have to worry about it. What's called when a car's pristine, it certainly takes away that you start worrying about it, and that's a bit of a shame. And also, like, I like cars that tell a story, and here there's a story. Someone can automatically go, okay, well, there's a difference in colour here. Why is that? Oh, it was because we did this bit, and so on and so forth.
I don't have OCD on my car, but that is OCD for me.
It doesn't. I think it's all part of it. I really do. I think it's part of its story. It's part of its journey. It's so much more interesting than a concourse car. Oh, you've had it restored. End of story. There's nothing left to say.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you can go around it and say, okay, well, that happened, this happened, blah blah. There's something to talk about.
No, and actually, when you the great thing about a car you own and you're doing up, you know what's wrong with it. My big problem with buying, and I bought various new cars, and I had a 356 Roadster. I love your 356, and is if you buy one done up, you don't know if they bodged it or not. It's almost impossible. So, are you paying that premium because it's done, or are you being ripped off on it? And my 356, they hadn't done a proper paint job. I thought it was perfect, and it started bubbling over the years. And, so the good thing, you have a car like this, ultimately, they're not good investments because, yes, it goes up in value, but you have spent a lot of money on it.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
But I'll do it, and I'll keep using it. And
well, after 30 years, I'd imagine that you know it like the back of your hand, and you know it inside out.
Exactly. So I know what wants to be done.
Okay, so let's go over some of the touches. So we've got these wonderful stripes coming down. So what's the story behind those?
So
because it's quite a unique colour as well. This coral kind of.
So when we thought the road trip, we thought actually let's have some fun with the cars.
Do a bit of a livery.
So what we did matching stripes with the E-Type. But Nick's E-Type's red, so he's got yellow down here, and I've got red.
Nice.
So when they're together, you get this great sort of shot of it. And we needed a roof rack because we had extra luggage and stuff.
So this was for the road trip itself?
This was for the road trip.
And what brand is this for people that might want to get one?
I don't know, but it's a really good one. It took me quite a long time finding it, but I'll get the details and send it through.
Okay.
Because there's some rubbish ones out there, but it's good quality. And then because of all the driving of the lights and because of the look, I put the frog lights on at the front as well.
Yeah. So these are CBs by the look of it.
They're CBs.
Yeah, lovely.
And actually, they are quite useful because unless you put Xenons, when you do they come on automatically when you do the full head beam. Well, there's an extra switch. If you leave it out, it comes on when you do. It's really quite useful when you're doing proper driving trips. But it obviously changes the look. Now, I can obviously retrofit if you wanted it to. You'd have to, if you want to take them off, you're probably better mounting them here because you have a little bracket and you're not making any holes in your bonnet.
Yeah, but I think the ones that do go there, it's the small version, and actually they're not as powerful.
They're not as powerful, exactly.
I mean, with my ones, I mounted them.
Oh, you've got
I mounted them here, and that's worked quite well.
See, that's quite well. Do you find that it takes any light away from there?
Probably a marginal amount, but I think once you've got it all on, which is when you really need all the light, then it's absolutely fine. Yeah. Not that I've noticed. It hasn't been enough for me to notice it. Yeah.
Annoyingly, though, these all started going a bit sort of damaged and rusty, so I just took them off. And the problem is, when you want to use your car, if you're using it regularly, you don't actually want your lids on, do you?
No, that's true.
But they do obviously protect it.
Yeah.
And this obviously puts extra weight on the bonnet, so I gave up. I'm pretty much given up on the compressor arms on these.
Because do you mind if I pop the bonnet? Is that right?
Pop the bonnet.
Because I guess the extra weight is just keeps pulling it down.
Exactly. But when I did it, we put one of these arms in.
Yeah, perfect.
And actually, those compressor arms, they die so quickly. I don't know if you're sort of...
No, I agree with you.
And it makes it so much easier.
So this is how you've wired them in?
Wired them in. So
that's tidy.
That all works quite well on that front. Obviously spare oil, because it's using quite a lot still.
Yeah. Is it burning it or is it leaking it? Because that's what it does. It's one or the other, isn't it?
This is burning it.
Yeah.
So it does need does need that work doing to it.
Nice.
But there aren't many cars that are 50 years old that you can still drive every day. And I think
they're reliable.
They're reliable, and I think that's just such a beauty of Porsches. It really is. And there's a history, so when we look through the notes, so apparently, it's got it on the documents that Terence Donovan used to own this.
Terence Donovan, the photographer.
The photographer.
Yeah.
Then there was, when I was driving on the States, there was some social media pictures, and this car journalist sent me a note saying, "Oh, that used to be my car," and I love that history.
Really,
of
that's
these
cool.
Things.
Yeah.
And people connect, and I think about Porsche as well. There's so many colours around it, isn't it? It just makes you smile.
Yeah, it's a happy car.
It is
a happy car. I just don't think. Yeah, they're happy. They're not pretentious.
Yeah.
You're preaching to converted, obviously, but
yeah, I'm preaching to.
Yeah,
so
but there's just a usability about them, which is, I mean, I always think of them as a Swiss Army knife of classic cars, because they do everything. You've got that practicality of the front bonnet, and actually, behind the rear seats, you can put a load of stuff in there. I did.
You can.
Well, you know all about packing for road trips, but I did a 3.5 week road trip in this car with the missus, and we got a huge amount of luggage in it for 3.5 weeks. When you got your missus in tow, she's got a lot of luggage.
Yeah, she needs to look good in the evenings. So I'd like to get your advice. So it's original matching numbers engine in this. My brother's got a 3 litre left from a rebuild he did.
Okay, cool.
There is a temptation to put a 3 litre in on it rather than doing that and then putting that engine aside. Or I get that done. I'm slightly split minds over it.
So what's the pros and the cons? What's making you hesitate?
I quite like the originality of it, but it makes no difference in value because I'm keeping this forever.
Well, I was about to say, this is clearly a forever car.
We're
going to be having this conversation again in another 30 years, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so.
It is a forever car. That little bit of extra power would be quite good.
Yeah.
But do I just keep the original? I'm still, I haven't made up my mind on that.
To me, it sounds like you have, to be honest with you. I mean, the crux of what you've just said is that it's a forever car and it's not going anywhere. So, and I've always lived by the rules that it's your car, your rules, you know? Like what's called, you've only got one life, and if you're going to have the car, you've got to live it, you know? So like what's called, if you want to put a 3 litre in it, then just do it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not like, you know, this is a car that, like you said, you're never gonna sell. It's not, you know, like a concourse car. It's not one of those boring
No,
type ones.
it's not one of those.
So you've got a license to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, you've drilled holes in the bonnet.
Yeah, true. It's got a weird paint job, and
It's got a perfect paint job.
It's not normal in that sense. So I think that that might be, rather than doing the Restorel doing.
But I think for someone like you that uses the car perpetually, there's probably something quite good about having a couple of engines actually.
Yeah.
You know, maybe, you know, put the 3 litre in there, take the 2.4 out. If you can, rebuild that, put that on the shelf. And you can always go back. The thing is, there's also actually what you might find is that once you've rebuilt the engine again, I mean, how many miles has it been on it since?
That's probably done 80,000.
80,000?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So how many miles do you think you've driven on the car in total?
I've probably done, that's 80,000 since the overall. I've probably done 140,000.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
Probably. Yeah. Over the years.
So I think my point being is that what's called, if the engine's got 80,000 miles since its last rebuild, you'll probably find that if you rebuilt it, it would probably give you that extra pep that you're looking for. Because a lot of the time you get guys that go, oh, I've got a 964 engine, it's got 100,000 miles, I've got to strip it apart. Well, not necessarily.
Yeah.
But if you do it, go for like a straight rebuild as opposed to chucking in a set of cup cams. Because actually you might find that it's lost a lot of horsepower.
And the electronic ignition as well. I think that I was thinking exactly that. Tut Hills do a very good job on the doing the carbs, don't they? So you don't look any different. So I might do something like that to keep it. And there's also, if you're going to put more power, do you want to put, do you put a roll cage?
Careful,
do
careful, because like what's called, you're talking about repainting the car, doing the engine, you start doing all that. All of a sudden, is it going to be Nick's car anymore?
Well, and the thing is, is it
going to be Giles's car? Sorry.
You with these cars, it's quite interesting though, because you can spend so much on them, can't they? They're big, dark holes of money spending. But what I love is if you are using it regularly, there's no depreciation of such. You're just spending money on it, it just makes you smile every time you get in it and go anywhere. And there aren't many cars. You go into a petrol station and old grannies come over and say, "Oh, I love that," and they smile and people wave. And going through London, because it's so narrow. Yeah, you must find that. They're brilliant cars to drive around.
They are. They're nippy, the perfect amount. You know, really,
Park them anywhere.
Little slot cars. That's fantastic.
No, they're fun.
So let's have a look on the inside.
Yeah, well, I put new seats in, and I did the interior myself. Just got a carpet set and chucked it in.
You did the interior yourself?
The
carpets?
Yeah. Which is actually quite easy to do, a bit of glue and sort of taking it in.
Did you just go over the original glue, or did you?
I pulled all the old carpets out. I got a carpet set on, online, and you just sort of go around and a tiny bit of cutting and stuff. But it's all pretty easy actually.
It's pretty original standard stuff.
It's pretty original standard stuff. Yeah. The seats aren't original, but they're a bit comfier. All the rest I wanted to keep it in. I put some extra electronics. So in the glove compartment, you've got an extra for your travels. You can see that you've got a as you probably can't see it, it's a second power cable, so I can you charge your See all my old Love albums as well from the original tape player.
Nice.
The tape player's been changed in here.
So what is the stereo you've got there?
That's a digital one in there.
Well, that's hilarious. So you've got the digital one, but you've kept the cassettes.
I've kept the cassettes. I'm quite tempted. I've still got all my old cassettes. I might actually go back to original cassette player as well.
Do you know that the only thing with cassettes is that what's called
like that.
They deteriorate.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Which
is a real shame. But like,
is that Dire Straits, that one? Which one's
what is that
That's
one? Yeah, that is Dire Straits. Sultans of Swing.
Sultans of Swing. I mean, classic at the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it still is. Well, to me, it still is a classic. I think Dire Straits are awesome, but I'm quite old school and outdated when it comes to music.
It's the compilation albums that you used to put together that are quite good.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, cool. And what are these ones here? These are all inputs for
They're
the stereo?
inputs for the stereo,
Okay, fantastic.
which hang down for some reason, which I need to tidy up.
Nice.
There's bits.
Have we got a little back pillow here?
I find these seats, if you you can get the just right on a long road trip. When you're doing hours and hours, it gets uncomfy. So if you can buy a set, and you just get the weight perfect for you, and then you can go on forever.
Nice.
If there's a slightly awkward setting, but the brilliant thing about Porsche, you can put the seats right back. You've got a lot of leg space. Not that I'm tall, but you can really sort of relax back into it, can't you, when you're driving? And occasionally on this, you probably, if you had an extra gear, it would be quite nice for the big long motorways. It's quite high revving, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's true. And you've got some aftermarket speakers there in the back.
Yeah. I put those in when I put the new stereo in. Not particularly pretty. And you've still got the speaker in the dash as well.
Oh yeah.
Which I've got an old alarm in, which has been sitting in it for ages, which still works, but it so worries me. And on a road trip, apparently that's the number one thing that I was told that goes wrong on these, is the alarm breaks, and then no one can fix it, and you're abandoned.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Nick, thank you so much for bringing the car in. It is a really cool thing, and you know, the whole reason I wanted to do this series is because what really interests me is the story of the relationship between the person and the car, and there's a lot of relationship there after 30 years of you owning, and it was great to hear some of your stories about it. And certainly, you certainly inspired me to get on with, at some point or another, planning my America trip, because that is something I would absolutely love to do.
Right.
So
well,
I will definitely be hitting you up for info.
You should organise a tour, and then we'll all rock up out again. But no, I think from our side, cars, watches, planes, it's this beautiful thing about mechanical pieces that you can touch and feel.
Yeah.
So tangible. It's understandable. You can fix it if you want to yourselves, and I think that's always been the joy.
Yeah, it's precision engineering.
Yeah.
It's the appreciation for craftsmanship and things which are well made.
Yeah,
and certainly the two definitely go together very well.
No, well, appreciate it. And thank you for showing me around your garage here.
No, not at all.
Which makes me very jealous. Some of the cars you've got.
Cheers.
But no, really appreciate it.
No, thanks for bringing it down. And the only thing I would say is that what's called this car. You look at it; it's got so much story and so much of you in it. And I would be very careful about over restoring it or overdoing this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I think it's clearly your car, and it needs to remain that way, is my view.
That's very good point.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you what to do with your car.
No, I love it.
But to be fair, even if you did do that, I'm sure in another 30 years it would have a hell of another story to tell.
But my advice to anyone who buys one of these is just enjoy it and use it. It's the same. My advice is the same for people who buy watches. The people who just store them in safes and don't enjoy it, wear it. And the fun of owning something is using it. Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, for me, things like this should empower you. They shouldn't restrict you.
Yeah.
So having a car should definitely a car that you absolutely love should definitely empower you to use it and to enjoy it for sure. But at the end of the day, each to their own, and I'm a firm believer in you do you and I'll do me. But I'm certainly of that tribe, Giles, like what's called they're always better dirty and they're always better used.
Or you just have two, don't you? Your second one is perfect, and then this is your.
Yeah, but then that gathers dust in the corner of the workshop, you know, and that's not the stories you tell your grandkids. This is the stories you tell your grandkids.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. And I, there are so many times I mentioned earlier that I almost had to sell it, and I can see my daughters will come out of the church and drive down the road in this, and it becomes this sort of family heirloom. And the worst thing my brother really regrets. When my dad died, he had this mid-80s 911 that he'd owned for years, and my brother got it, and he had to sell that, and he massively regrets that now. So there's this well-tailed mid-80s lovely 911 out there that we should have kept, and those sorts of things you just don't want to regret.
No, it's true. That's true. Well, again, thank you so much for bringing it in.
Frank, appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll see you out on the road again.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing your event as well.
Yeah, cheers. I appreciate that.